Here's our wonderful new chapter. Bloodborne pathogens. There's also airborne pathogens, and we'll talk about that, but you won't be necessarily presented to you because there is an issue that I hold near and dear because a friend of mine at one of the schools that I had worked at previously for an airborne pathogen. Bloodborne pathogens are transmitted through blood or other body fluids. Okay, we know a bloodborne pathogen, do we? Or might one be? I came over where? Yeah, well, HIV. AIDS is a byproduct. Okay. Well, yeah, we have the two biggies, but there's another one which is hepatitis, and hepatitis B is not a great thing. You don't want hepatitis. Hepatitis is where it kills your liver. Uh, you can't live without a liver. You get rid of your gallbladder. You get rid of your spleen. You get rid of an appendix, which really doesn't do anything. But you cannot get rid of a liver. If you don't have a liver, your blood becomes toxic and you end up dead. Cancel Christmas. Take all the gifts back. Grandma got run over by a reindeer, all of that. Right? So, hepatitis B is inflammation of the liver. There are symptoms, and they're flu-like symptoms. But what you've got to do is you've got to recognize these symptoms. On your test, you're going to have on there, name so many of the symptoms. Now, when we get to HIV, they're going to say they're flu-like symptoms. Okay? But there are some weaknesses. There are some differences. One of the biggest ones is that last one, which is jaundice. You ever seen somebody who's jaundiced? What did you notice? They've got a yellow skin tone, and their eyes, the white of their eyes, starts turning yellow because, well, their liver's not doing the job. They have a fever, headache, abdominal pain, nauseousness, weakness, and fatigue. Okay? Obviously, they get abdominal pain. It's usually up here on this upper right quadrant because that's where your liver is and that's where it's swelling. Okay? Not a great deal. Now, not everybody that has jaundice is going to have hepatitis. It can end up with something that's called NASH. It can end up with something that's called cirrhosis. But either way about it, when your liver starts shutting down, you start turning yellow. All right, it's possible for that virus to go undetected because an infected individual will not show any signs. The disease can be transmitted through others, exposure to blood and body fluids, and intimate contact. A lot of GIs that were over in Vietnam ended up with hepatitis because hepatitis was pretty rampant in Vietnam at the time. HBV, it can survive for about a week in dried blood. So if somebody comes in here and they've got a cut, you glove up, okay? But they're dripping. So this is where this cross-contamination is so important. I'd rather we throw everything out that we have in the closet and we buy everything new to make sure that somebody does not get cross-contaminated than what it is to leave something behind. So he's got a cut on his arm, and of course, by no means am I saying that this boy here is the victim of HPV, but I go and I put my gloves on. All right, we clean them up, we throw it out. Okay, now remember, I probably got blood or blood byproduct on my gloves. Then I go, I tear open the gauze, I put it on there, I throw this out. Then I go and I grab the PowerFlex and I wrap it around and tear it off. And then I take this PowerFlex that's left over and I stick it in my bag to use over again. I've probably transferred blood or blood byproducts onto the inside core, certainly at the tear site. So for $2 to buy another roll of PowerFlex, throw the whole thing out or put the whole thing on them. Okay? Everything you touch. So here's your other deal. I'm going to do if I'm going to do peroxide, have I already touched them before I open the bottle? Have I already touched them before I pick the bottle up? I've probably got cross contamination on that bottle. So if I'm done, that bottle of peroxide is about 49 cents. Throw the whole bottle out. You know, you'll get in trouble more for not throwing it out than what you are for, quote, wasting the product. That's like, if we got, who cares? Take that whole thing and just keep pouring it on there. The more it washes over something, the more likely it's going to debride anything that's in it. So cross contamination is important not to have happen. So now that we've already cleaned them up, and I didn't notice, but he had a little drop right there. Tables don't get cleaned, etc. Somebody walks by next week. Here comes somebody else. They got a cut. They put their arm on it. Even though that blood is dried and has been dried for 4 days, that virus is still sitting in there waiting. Who's gonna come by? Somebody has to come by. Please come by. I gotta keep living. I'm just dormant. I'm waiting. Hello, come on. Oh, there you are. Thank you. And then they climb into that next person's cut, and lo and behold, now someone else is going to get infected with hepatitis B. Thing about it though is that we were looking up the HIV stuff. Things that I was always taught is that as soon as HIV hits the air, that it dies. She found that's probably not true. It's probably closer to being the same lifeline as long as the pH in the dried blood is within its parameters of life for HIV for the virus, you're going to live. All right. There is a vaccination though for hepatitis B. Okay, that's the great thing. This has only been like 20, 25 years. You guys, I believe you have to have it part of your immunization. Is that correct? If you don't, you need to go do it. And you get 3 doses, and you get a dose, you get 6 months, you get another dose, or you wait 3 months, however. Then you got to have a little blood test. They do the blood test to make sure that the antibodies are there. Prevention's worth a pound of cure, and in this deal here, 1 ounce of prevention's worth 1,000 pounds of cure. Absolutely need to have it done. All right. There are people in this world that say I'm a Christian Scientist, or I don't believe in vaccines, or I don't. The proof is in the pudding. I mean, pretty much polio has been eradicated from the United States. Tuberculosis was almost completely eradicated from the United States. Mumps. Have any of you ever had the mumps? I had the mumps. You probably haven't. But did anybody ever have the chicken pox? No? Yeah? See, all of these things, these immunizations that have come along since I had gotten older, that I already got the virus or whatever. So all of this stuff, that was my vaccination, was actually contracting the problem. But you guys got a pretty good life. That's not bad. If you don't have to live with chicken pox, holy smokes. It can be, it's not so much, it's just constant pock marks everywhere. When I got them, I was not a little boy. I was probably 6th grade, maybe. So they were pretty tough because you should have had them by then. My older brother, who's 2 years old, he's 8th grade before he got them. He had them so bad, he had chicken pox on his eyes, on the eye itself. The older you are, the worse they're going to be. Yeah, and if you scratch them, you leave pock marks. All right. So back in the day, when I had a beautiful head of hair, way back there, I had more hair than any of you. Probably all of you combined probably didn't have as much. All right. So you see this little dot right there? That was below my hair. It was above my hairline. So my mother told me, she goes, "Don't you ever scratch a chicken pox. It will leave a pock mark that'll be there for the rest of your life." So me being a kid, I thought, well, that hair is going to stay there forever. So I went way up here and I scratched. There's a little, yeah, all over on my scalp. And so, God's funny trick of taking men's hair away. Um, that pock mark finally showed up. And so there it is. Thank goodness I only did one as opposed to like just going crazy. But you'll see people who didn't know any better, and especially on the cheek, they're just full of pock marks. But scars up, scars up. Just a blood airborne pathogen. Now that one's airborne, all right? And now airborne is like the common cold. Bloodborne is through body fluids. Airborne, all right. So and it's not on here, but I'll teach you about this anyways. Like the common flu. When do you get the cold and the flu? When it's cold outside. Why do you think that is? No. Where are you? Are you outside more or are you inside more? When yeah, I'm inside more because I don't like particularly care to get cold. So people congregate inside more. I mean, even at a restaurant, they've got an outdoor patio. They don't go out there when it's cold. They only go out there, and it's usually full. Go to Cheesecake Factory. Holy smokes, you can check that out anytime. People are always out in the patio unless it's cold, and then everybody's inside. Do you want first available patio or no? I don't want to go on the patio. Give me something that's first available inside. All right. So here I go, and I sneeze. I'm the one that's already got the cold or the flu. I sneeze. Now everybody's seen when somebody sneezes from the side. You just see it go. The water droplets go everywhere. Well, those water droplets are just floating around, and you breathe them in. If that itty bitty little baby virus is sitting in one of those water droplets, now that water droplet has now infected you with the virus, and it's a virus. The flu is a virus. Okay, so once you get a virus, can you kill it? Mm-mm. That's the thing about it. Antibiotics. All right, and this is one of the biggest problems we have in as far as in the U.S. is that every time you get a cold, I want a Z-Pack. I need some erythromycin. I need some penicillin. These are all antibiotics. But if whatever it is you have is not a bacterial type illness and it's a viral illness, all you're doing is weakening your body's immune system towards bacteria, right? Because then those deals get used to that and they'll beat up on the medicine that you're doing. Perfect example, tuberculosis. Okay, tuberculosis is just like the common cold or the flu. It is an airborne pathogen. All right, tuberculosis used to kill all the time. People would go to sanatoriums up in the Colorado mountains because they thought, well, we'll just get them away from everybody and hopefully that'll take care of it. But somehow there's been medication to kill tuberculosis. But what's happened is that we get migrant workers that come from Mexico. They come across, they work, and then they leave and go back to Mexico for 4 months. I mean, not 4 months, but at least 4 weeks or more to be with grandma and grandpa and great grandma, great grandpa during the holidays. Now, we saw this a lot in Mount Pleasant because we had a lot of chicken farms around there from Pilgrim's Chicken. So here comes the migrant worker. They take care of all their business. The kids go to school, right? They have to get a tuberculosis test. So they get a tuberculosis test and it comes up positive. So state law absolutely requires them to come to the health Department of Health and get this medication. So they're on this medication for about 3 months. You need to take this medication a minimum of 6 to 12 months. Okay? So in 3 months, I've taken this medication, and now it's Christmas time. We're going back. All right? So they go back across the border, and they stay an extended amount of time before it's time to come back to Mount Pleasant. While they're there, they don't take their medicine. The reason they don't take their medicine is one, when you have these types of infections, you're not feeling something. I'm not, tuberculosis, when it's really bad, you're coughing up blood. But when you first get it, you're not coughing up blood. You're not hurting. You don't have a fever. You don't have any of these signs that says, go, you're sick. So they quit taking the medicine. What happens to tuberculosis? It just got stronger. Now, since you didn't kill it all the way, it comes back and a stronger force, and now you've got a superbug tuberculosis who is resistant to the antibiotics that were made to kill it. So now all of this travel back and forth is causing a big deal. There was a teacher who had never even been to South Texas. I don't even know if he's ever been past Houston, but there's a teacher up there who never been to South Texas, and he tested positive for tuberculosis. That is really something freaky. So I've called legislatures to recommend that teachers have a tuberculosis test at least at the minimum once every 5 years, if not best every year, let alone I would probably say every 2 years would be great. And they insist that the problem is not bad enough to do it. But they're not going to know until they start doing some serious testing. But that's how airborne pathogens work. Bloodborne pathogens, you get it over blood. So we got to talk about HIV. You know, there's a superstar that was out in Hollywood just came out and said he had HIV, right? Yeah. Huh? Yeah. Oh, Chucky Boy. And so Chucky Boy is talking about that he has HIV. If you are being promiscuous, all right, being intimate with many partners, if you are poking your arm with needles and sharing needles, you're going to end up to where you are flirting with something very serious. And HIV is only the tip of the iceberg, all right? Because there's so much underlying that can be transferred to somebody else that you should learn in health class that should scare the living fire out of you, all right? But HIV is only the tip of the iceberg. All right, so it comes along and it jumps into a host cell, and you have RNA and you have DNA. All right, so it changes the RNA to a proviral DNA replica. So I'm going to go in there. I'm going to go and say, move this all around. All right, there we go. And now it's going to go from cell to cell to cell to cell, and it takes your cells. And here's some of the craziness that people have tried to do to get rid of HIV once they've had it. I mean, I've heard of people that have gone down to south of the border because obviously this is not going to be FDA approved, where they take all of their blood out. Obviously, they can't get all of it out, but they'll have a vat of their kind of blood over here that's HIV clean, and they'll have one coming out. And so what they'll do is, they'll take it and like cook the blood to a certain temperature, get it high enough, hoping to kill it, and then just keep pumping blood back in so you don't die from not having blood. It doesn't work. But when you're that desperate, you've got to now. Back in 1990, no, yeah, 93, the Corpus Christi Caller-Times had an article. Now this is 93. What is that? 03. It's only 13 years ago, huh? No, it can't be 13. 23 years ago. 23 years ago, they had a newspaper article in there about this one guy, and they said the face of HIV. And so they did a story on this man, and they followed this man for the last year of his life. Okay? Not that they knew he was going to die, but once he finally died, they published this in a 7 series, the whole week. They had about 5 or 6 pages within the newspaper about how this man died. All right? So HIV doesn't kill you. AIDS doesn't kill you. It doesn't, technically. If you want to get down technically about it, that's not what kills you. It's your body's inability to fight off any infections and other diseases. Those diseases finally just show up and say, yes, I got this opportunity. I'm taking him down. So it's that pneumonia or that really rare, really wimpy cancer or that ends up killing you with HIV. So here they go, is that this guy, he was normal looking Joe. Next thing you know, he's getting skinnier and getting skinnier. By the time he dies, he weighs like 78 pounds. He's got infections all throughout his body, all throughout his throat because he can't get rid of anything. Very painful death. something that you certainly don't want to ever, ever, ever wish even on your worst enemy. So it says here that 1.2 million people are living with HIV. Now, is this an updated number? So she found this, and that's probably 2010 numbers. 1.2 million are living with HIV in the U.S. Okay, so compared to 320, 330 million people, that number is pretty low. But the odds are every one in 300. So we've got over 300 kids here at school. Odds are there's 2 walking around that could be HIV positive. Yeah. Now, if you go, that's just in the grade. So if we're looking at 2,000, so every 300, you're looking at 3. So you're looking at there's 6 to 7 people statistically walking the schools who's HIV positive. And they don't have a flag that follows them around that says, I'm HIV positive. They don't have a great big dot on their head or something that shows up that says, I'm HIV positive. All right? So how are you going to know? You don't. All right? 14,000 people are infected with HIV, die each year in the United States. 14,000 deaths. There are 50,000 Americans that become infected each year. Those numbers are down. Used to be more. Okay? It is. Gay and bisexual men of all races are the most severely affected by HIV because their intimate action is much riskier, more riskier. Well, it's not so much just about it's not just about the HIV as far as needles, and that you're saying that gay men are probably more likely to share needles with their gay partner. It's just that act itself. Okay, so all right, so out here, there's 1 million people. 1 million. Well, I said 1.2 are living in the U.S. with HIV. 1 in 8 living with HIV don't even know they have it. 1 in 8 is unaware. So we've got more than 8 people here. So if this 8 people were to gather, and so 7 of them would be knowing they had HIV, and the other one didn't. So the other one's going, "Hey, yo, I don't have it." Well, maybe they do. All right. Every 9.5 minutes, someone in the United States is infected with HIV. 50,000 Americans per year. All right. About 1 in 4 new HIV infections is among youth ages 13 to 24. It is. It is because they're young. One, you have lived your entire life in the world of HIV. Okay? I haven't. When it first came out that, hey, there's AIDS, oh my goodness. It was an abomination to, it's God putting down people who are gay. It is because people who are gay have caused it. That's not how this happened. There's absolutely no reason for that. There is some research that was done 20 years ago, 25 years ago, about where it came from, why it started, where it started. Where did it start? Where did people, you say Africa. Some people say San Francisco. Some people say New York. Well, they were, and that's the thing is that people when it first got into the humans, people running around and they're being promiscuous and etc. The worst things that they could get was gonorrhea or syphilis, and you can get a penicillin shot and you were done. So, wow, okay, I had gonorrhea, I got a penicillin shot, I'm clean now. All right, and so every time you got it again, oh well, I got gonorrhea again, got a penicillin shot. Okay, you're taken care of. But with HIV, that doesn't work that way, huh? So most of them do not even know they're infected and are not being treated, and unknowingly can pass this on to, can also pass this on to others. Okay, here's a map. This map has drastically changed since the last map that we had on there. But what can you tell? These are the hot spots. Florida, yeah. These are the hot spots for those infected as far as per 100,000 with HIV. All right. So, what do you notice about this? The big cities. All right. It's in the big cities. Why? Look at that. Look at how Atlanta and Florida is smaller than San Francisco. That map that used to be on there, San Francisco was huge. So why do you think that is? Is homosexuality looked upon the same way in San Francisco as it is in Atlanta? How is it looked on in Atlanta? You're a sinner. So you're on the down low. All right? You're on the down low. You are 9 to 5 wearing your tie and your penny loafers, and you're going to work Monday through Friday. But Friday night, it all changes. It, well, raise the glass, get rid of the wife, and find the boyfriend. That's living on the down. Is that not right? So the homosexual community has really taken it upon themselves to stop HIV within their community through education, through better practices, whether you believe it's right or not as far as that practice, but they're practicing safer sex. They are taking care of trying to lower the risk of their community. That's not what you're going to see down here in Alabamaville. That's not what you're going to see over there in, hey, I'm a Florida redneck. All right, you're not going to see that because you're not going to be as open in a community that's going to shun you like it is in the South. But even New York's big, but that's the number one city in the country. But look at Chicago. Chicago right up here on the Great Lakes. And what is going on here in Memphis? We got Louisiana and Baton Rouge is not. This is Miami, that's Orlando, that's Jacksonville. Okay? So that map should be able to tell you something about as far as education and actually those that are say that those that believe in their lifestyle, they're going to try to believe in those with that lifestyle and keep them safe. And that's what I see out of that map. 31, what's it go to? All right, HIV, transmitted by exposure to infected blood and other body fluids or by intimate sexual content or contact. Can possibly survive in dry blood with an ideal conditions for a week or so. What about if I kiss somebody? Will that give you AIDS? You don't think so? Well, yeah, you'd have to like have a gallon of spit in order to contract HIV. All right. So, what about if I held someone's hand? No, not unless they're bleeding and you're bleeding at the same time. All right, but I will tell you this: working a rodeo one time, and somebody went to go take care of somebody's cut. They got hit by a bull in the head or whatever. All right, didn't glove up, grabbed the gauze, stuck it up there, and then threw those out, and then got back up on the rails watching the rodeo. This athletic trainer. And then she's biting on her nail, and she looks down, and there's blood under her nail. Now, would that do it? If he's HIV positive, it very well could. It could. All right? But symptoms, you got fatigue, weight loss. I don't think weight loss was in the other one, was it? All right? Muscle and joint pain, I don't think that was in the other one either, was it? You have painful and swollen glands, night sweats, and you have fever. Fever's in both of them. Whenever you've got something as far as a virus in your body, it's going to try and fight it off. Fortunately, with HIV, the body's always going to lose. Always. Okay? How do you prevent? If you're going to have relations, you've got to be smart. Okay? The best way is abstinence. All right? Avoid contact with body fluids. Don't share needles. I've been preaching this forever. You don't share your needle, dude. How about don't do drugs? Okay? Let's not do them at all. And when I say don't do drugs, that means alcohol. All right? When you are, I promise you this, when you look back in your life when you are 60 years old, God willing, all of us will make it that long. All right? Every bad decision, if you have decided to drink, every bad decision will have revolved around alcohol. Every one. And the reason why is your inhibitions and your warning signs all fall down. I am 10 foot tall and bulletproof. Nothing can happen to me when if you're drinking, and those things happen. And that's where, so avoid drugs that impair your judgment. Do not have, this is a biggie. If you know someone's HIV positive, don't start a relationship with them. You can love them as much as you want, but don't put yourself at risk and have sex with those you know that are HIV positive. Now, honest to goodness, there is a website that's HIV match, like Match.com, but for those with HIV. Why not? If you know you're HIV and she knows it and he knows it, they're not going to get HIV. They've already got it. Okay? So yeah. Now, if you are sexually active, get tested regularly, at least twice a year. It's not just HIV that gets transmitted. Okay? Wait till you hear about the 91 different viruses called HPV that ends up having cancers throughout your body. Okay? Not a fun thing. Okay? And also, practice good hygiene before and after relations if you think you're old enough to have them. Here's the whole thing. The whole thing about it. Now, remember, I told you that I've lived through the entire spectrum of HIV. From the very beginning, to where there was newspaper articles and all over the news, and it's someone died again from AIDS, and the community, the New York City community of whatever is having a. So this one guy, matter of fact, he met a girl. He was he worked at the hospital and he tested bloods. Okay, so he met a woman and he talked to her and he wanted to have a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship with her, but he would not even kiss her until she consented to give blood and have the report sent to him. That's not a bad idea. I mean, now, here's the whole thing, because I will promise you this, is that boys will say, what? If you love me, it won't matter, right? You'll do this if you love me. Don't fall into that trap. Ever, ever, ever. Don't fall into the trap of, okay, we won't talk about it. Want another drink? Because boys will do that too, because boys find out real quick that inhibitions will drop. Girls, protect yourself. Boys, be smart enough. If you care about somebody, care about them to the point to where you respect them. Okay? Protect others from the risk of infection, then, is the priority of your trainer, coach, and officials. Because an athlete who is HIV positive can't be disqualified from playing. Why? Because we live in a world where everybody should be able to do everything no matter what. It's not about making out, but it's every time they get cut. So, all right, we will finish up with these last few deals. Oh, there's several. We're also going to talk about MRSA. Yes. Methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. What?